right, we're copying you okay, and let's continue on then and see if we can pick up any more folks for the Vintage Sideband Round Table starting in 5 minutes or so. Please come now with your calls. Well, I don't know if that was, for me, a Kilo Gulf station. Could you try that again?
About how far past that we are, and I keep telling myself, I'm a customer. I paid you money to do this, and you're making me suffer.
All right, Ed. Yes, I know the call now. KG6 UTS. I'm afraid you're kind of weak here, but we copy you. I imagine you're running barefoot. Yes. All right, Ed, KG6 UTS, we got you down on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Let's see, anybody else who'd like to get on the list, come now.
KJ7IGZ.
KJ7, and what's the rest of your call? Repeat it a couple times.
KJ7IGZ, I Groom Zebras, Japan 7, India Zulu.
Okay, KJ7, India Golf Zulu. And what's your name and location?
That's true. And now,
John in Glendale, Arizona.
I got John. What's the location again?
prepaid now, they don't put any amount on hold. But for someone that doesn't do much,
KJ7IGZ, what's your location?
they're going to do it that way until the other
Glendale, Arizona. Glendale, Arizona.
Okay, Glendale, Arizona. That's home of the Super Bowl, I think. All right, very good. We got you down. Okay, let me make one more call here. Anybody else who'd like to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, come now.
I'm ready, Dave.
Okay, Brian. Well, if you're ready, I'll read you the list. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead, and I came back with a little more power here, so it should be easier.
Yeah, that's much better. I say you're, well, I don't know, S9 or 10 over here. Okay, well, the list I have is this. K6 ZTA, that's Vaughn. K6 ZTA, Vaughn. And then N6 WHK, Phil. N6 WHK, Phil, and then it goes to N6BZY, Paul. N6BZY. Then to K6 KOY, K6 KOY, that's John. And then to K2RP, Ron. K2RP, Ron. And then N6AF, Chuck. N6AF. How are we doing so far?
We're going fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Next we have WB6RLC, Glenn. WB6RLC. And then we have WA9JIB, Bob. WA9JIB. And then it goes to Andy, KD6TKX. KD6TKX. And then it goes to KX7P, Kilo X-Ray 7, Papa, that's Tim. And then to W6WUH, Larry. W6WUH. And then it goes to K6LK, Bill. K6LK. And then after Bill, it goes to W6YEC, George. W6YEC. And after George, send it over to KG6UTS. Ed, that's KG6UTS. Ed. And the final one I have on the list is KJ7IGZ. KJ7IGZ, that's John. And then put me near the end of the list, if you would, Brian. I need to go do something, and I'll come back a little later. So, did you get the list okay, Brian?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Dave. No problem. I'm going to put you around W6YEC, between YEC and UTS head there. So is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's good. Very good. All right, well, carry on. Over to you, Brian. NI6Q, WJ6W.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you, Dave, again, and thanks for taking the early. This is NI6Q here. Brian in Flagstaff, Arizona, or close to Flagstaff, Arizona, and I'll be hosting tonight the Vintage Sideman Roundtable, and propagation seems to be good. I have a lot of crashes here because we had quite a snowstorm today again. Probably about 10 inches came down, but especially wind is up to 45 miles per hour gusts, and well, winter time was really back, I tell you. All right, so thanks again to you, Dave, and we'll talk a little bit later. I can make the presentation of the net here, and then we'll get on the business, and also with the kind of an interesting, I hope, question for tonight, and we'll see how that goes. So welcome, everybody, to the Vintage Sideman Roundtable. This is NI6Q. My name is Brian, and I'm close to Flagstaff, Arizona, and I'm going to be the host for tonight's roundtable. I'm using right now a single one CX11 from 1979, and this is kind of feeding a 30S1 Collins linear amplifier for about a kilowatt output. The antenna is a doublet antenna, which happens to be kind of a dipole of this particular frequency. The weather, as I said, is extremely snowy, very windy. It was really gloomy, to say the least, outside. So this net meets every Tuesday evening. Starts with an informal gathering around 6:30 Pacific time to record an early check-in list that will be relayed to the host station of the roundtable. The roundtable meets on or about 3895 kilohertz, plus or minus, depending on QRM or the precision of your vintage VSO. To check into this roundtable, you must be using a radio that was manufactured in or before 1980, or be homebrewed with the equivalent technology. Transistor, tube, or hybrid radios are welcome, as they were manufactured in 1980 or before. However, if you are a first-time check-in, you may use a modern radio for the purpose of inquiring about joining this group and obtaining a vintage radio. This group is a neat resource for finding and repairing vintage equipment. We encourage vintage radio newcomers. New check-ins will be automatically moved to the top of the list. We have a website at groups.io/G/vintage SSB with many station photos and files regarding vintage SSB equipment. Our group also has an email reflector if you'd like to have access to the website. The reflector email. Send an email to Mike, K6ZSR, that is Kilo 6 Zulu Sierra Radio. The address is Mike at K6ZSR.com. We have a discussion topic that we will call the question of the evening at each round table. You're invited to participate as part of your check-in. Tonight's question of the evening is as follows. We're going to talk tonight about the Walkmans, 1979. It's pretty old now. But most of the radios that we are did not have the Walkman, at the time, or very few did. Besides, of course, Collins CWF M2A, which was a double crystal bag, and the S9s and things of that nature, where you actually can purchase a crystal from the crystal path index to cover those kind of new bands at the time. What do? You know, with the SWAT radios, with the helicopter radios of the time, you know, with the Drake radios, and all the so it's going to be interesting to see if you did operate, if you are operating the watt bands and for those radios, and maybe you can give some tips to the other participants of the net. For instance, I'm not really versed myself onto a SWAN radio, and I have no idea if you can actually do cover those bands with the pre-1980, I would say, radio. So that's the question of the night, and any information would be certainly appreciated by people who don't know what's going on with the other radios and comments and the such. I think that the TR7 covers those bands for but you did have to add, you know, some segments, I think, in the radio, you know, that were holding crystals as well. You need to supplement the radio with that. So Dave, you can probably tell us about that. Some others. Some of the single ones, like this TX11 that came out in 1979. TX11 has the vault bands fully equipped. And so did some GRC radios that I have. But I also have another radio that's called Phenomenal. So what is your experience? So, at the end of the round table, there's a golden custom award that is given to a round table member who is singled out because of some outstanding, interesting, especially tonight, funny, informative, etc. comments made during their check-in. Forgot to tell you that we also have a live video simulcast Zoom. The simulcast is active during the round table session. To join these Zoom sessions, send an email to Dennis, W6DQ, that's at Quebec, Dairy Queen if you prefer. His address is w6dq@arrl.net. He will provide you with an ID and password and the instructions, information about that particular Zoom session. Well, before we start, we have any announcement that would be only of interest to the vintage single sideband radio. Come now, this is an I6Q.
K2RP?
Yeah, K2RP, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I don't know if this is the proper venue, but I'm going to have to get out of here pretty soon. I'm trying to lighten the load in the house here, and especially the garage. And I have a BMW 5100 that I got years ago without a power cord. It seems complete, don't know anything about it, but I would like to give that a new home. Anybody who wants it is welcome to it, no charge. The only proviso is I don't get to see it again. And I will be coming up, hopefully, to Rocco's for the barbecue on April 22nd, and I would be happy to bring it with me. Thanks, Brian. N6Q, K2RP.
Yes, okay, Ron, very good. Well, thanks for the kind offer there, and I'm sure you're going to have some people interested there, K2RP Ron, so thanks a lot. Anyone else? Nope. Nobody else? Okay, so let's go ahead. Before we do we have any additional participants onto the roundtable for tonight? This is the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Come now.
Whiskey Italy 6 Radio.
All right, WI6R, good signal. Anyone else?
Whiskey 6 Bravo, Romeo Yankee.
Yeah, BRY, I got you. Anyone else?
K6JE1.
Yeah, come on back, Charles.
Yep, K6JEY, got you as well. Anyone else? That's it. Okay, so thanks for those 3 newcomers there. You're on the list. And without further ado, like it is said, let's stop and give it over to K6ZTA. K6ZTA, pass it over to Phil, W6WHK. Phil, pass it over to Paul, N6BZY. And Paul, pass it over to John, K6KOI. And John, give it back to me. This is NI6Q here, and you're listening to the Vintage Sideman Roundtable. ZTA Solio.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, thanks for taking it tonight, taking the steering wheel, and for Dave for catching the earlies. Handle here is Vaughn, Victor, Oscar, November, and we're out here in Woodland Hills. And we're running the 100V, a la 1959, and we're driving the Heathkit SB 220 to about 500 watts peak, I think, something like that. And the receiver is a Drake 2B, the antenna is an inverted V, and the microphone is a 10D. Okay, so with respect to the question of the evening, I don't really have much to contribute for this, so I think I will just pass, and I've thought about work bands, but I don't have the antennas to go along with it. So that really is not a. I can't do it even with the radio I have, which has the work bands. So, at any rate, without the antennas, you really can't. I can't do very well. So, okay. Onward and upward. Thank you very much for all the goodies here. And Ron, that sounds like a good deal for that. Was that a BMW? Wait a minute. B&W. Yeah. Okay. N6WHK, K6ZTA.
K6ZTA, N6WHK. Well, I'm running the Swan 350 Delta, and for some reason the digital readout is working very fine. I've had problems with that. So I have a external frequency counter wired into the coax, and when it will give me the readout. Running a coaxial antenna up about 50 feet at the apex, drooping down, and that's what I'm using. I'm running about 400 watts of power. I don't have a way of running the warp bands on this particular rig. I guess it could be modified, but then you would just, in my opinion, destroy the rig. I like this little 350 Delta Swan. It does what it's supposed to do when it works. It works most of the time. It's the readout I have problems with. There's some grounding problems in there or something, and we keep finding more of them and fixing them, and eventually it will work. Anyway, I can't give you too much on the question of the night, because I've got 3 radios here. Heathkit, HW12 I use. I've got this Swan. I've got a Drake and another rig over there, and none of them have the warp bands on them. I do have a modern rig with them. I do have antennas that will work with them, basically a loop, and I can load the loop up. With that, over to Paul, N6BZY, N6WHK.
Okay, very good there, Phil. N6WHK in the group, N6BZY. Okay, very good. Well, I can't really comment too much on that. I don't have any direct experience with work bands and these older radios the exception of one that it was just a matter of, getting the crystals for it. So that one didn't require any modification, just crystals. I forget which one that was, but that was a pretty simple matter of just ordering crystals. This particular radio, the TR4, I think would be very difficult to modify. I suppose it could be done. And I'm not sure when this radio was actually made, but I'm just about positive it was before 1980, so I think I'm safe here. Anyway, just enjoying listening. Don't really have a whole lot to offer here for the topic of the evening. I just wanted to dust this baby off and make sure it was still working, which it appears to be. And everybody's got nice signals tonight. The band seems to be very stable, not a lot of noise, so very enjoyable operating tonight. So over to you there, John. K6KOI and 6BZY.
K6BZY. K6KOI. I changed rigs on you guys. I got tired of those fooling around with the VFO 2008. And so I switched over to the SSB. Running about 100 watts, 300 watts, something like that. And conditions are good tonight. Quite well. I really am not terribly interested in the other bands. I have thought about adding an official to my CWM 2A F line. Haven't done it. It's easy to do. I think the code for it should be an old Swan. That's what you need. Different units, but most of the Swans don't use a 6 range of 5 to 5.5 with a different tetragon crystal and a different speed, which can expand the VFO for the reasons they drift so much. It's one of the good solver. I've never tried it. That's
Yeah, okay, very good. K6KOI. And the vintage sideband roundtable here is NI6Q, Flagstaff, Arizona, where it still snows quite a lot. All right, well, good singles all around. Everybody was just around S9 and sometimes much more than that, so no complaints at this time. So before we go further down the line, do we have anyone else who would like to be on the list? This is NI6Q.
WA6JUS.
Yep, okay, I got the WA6JUS. Okay, very good, John. Good to hear you. Good signal. All right, so let's go down the list. It's going to go to Ron, K2RP. K2RP, and Ron, give it over to Chuck M6AF when you're done. Chuck would give it in turn to WB6RLC, Glenn. Glenn would pass it in turn to Bob, WI9JIB. Bob then will give it to Andy, KD6TKX. And Andy, give it back to me. There we go. You're listening to the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. This is a nice still listing tonight, and propagation seems to be good at this point. K2RP, Ron, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Thanks to Dave for taking the earlies. Thanks to you, Brian, for running the net. I appreciate all the effort you guys put in to do this. Let's see. We're running the Helicopter Cyclone 3. The microphone and G5RB. Barefoot, everybody's sounding pretty good. I'm going to be brief also. I have not done much with the Wharf Band's even modern radio. When I was active in county hunting, there were a lot of guys on 30 meters. And I even had a mobile antenna, probably still have it, for 30 meters CW. And other than that, I don't think I really
work anybody on the other work bands. I never got into it, so certainly not with the vintage rigs. So that's brief. Have a good Valentine's Day. I'm going to pop out of here too because of that. And we'll see you all next week. Pick it up, Chuck, N6K, N6AF, K2RP.
All right. November 6 Alpha Fox. So I've got little three sections or three comments, I guess. The newer radios, of course, synthesized and all that. I've got the K3 and the 590 SG and the FT100 Delta. Those, they go everywhere. But I think the only vintage radio I have that's really easily configured for work bands would be the Drake 2B, which is a really neat little package. Essentially a 80-meter receiver with a crystal-controlled mixer ahead of that, right? And that's part of the reason it's so stable. So you could select the appropriate crystal and use one of the band selection settings for one or two work bands on the Drake 2B. The other radios I'm looking at, not so easy. You would have to give up a non-work band, or at least a segment, to add a work band section. For example, I don't have a 2A. I'm talking on my KWM2, and of course, it's got the capability, but again, you'd have to give up one of the non-work bands to, maybe use the 21 meg position for 18 or something, if those circuits could be retuned slightly. But HT37, TS520, Viking Ranger, Ranger 2, HQ170, forget it. It won't work. How's that? It simply won't work. Over to WB6RLC, N6AF.
All right, N6AF, WB6RLC in the group. Okay. Let's see, this evening, Glenn here, Cathedral City. Most signals are pretty good tonight. Nice signals. I've got some static crashes and stuff. We had a little bit of rain out here in the desert, and lots of wind. Boy, it's been blowing crazy. So, and still is. So it stopped blowing and rained for a bit, now it's blowing again. Anyway, so the rig tonight's the Swan 400. Sure 444 mic up to an off-center fed dipole at 32 feet. By the way, this is like the same one that kind of AK6R uses, and it's an oddball kind of an offset, and it will work the work band. It's about 27 feet 6 inches on one side and 109 and like 3 or 4 inches or something on the other side, and it will load up on all the work bands. So if you don't have an antenna for that and got the room, it's a good antenna. In fact, he sells the shortened version of it that will get you on all the work bands. Anyway, so much my ad for Bob. Anyway, excuse me, a little QRM there. Out of all the Swans that I have, I've got the Swan 400 here. It's the first 5-band radio that they made. Of course, it doesn't have the work band. Then I've got down to Swan 200A, and it doesn't. It's all transistors and stuff, and it doesn't have work bands. And a couple of Atlas radios, 215 and a 350. They don't have work bands, so like somebody was saying, though, some of them have got extended ranges for 10 meters. You might be able to swap out one of those 10-meter crystals because they've got like 28, 28.5, 29, 29.5. So you could probably swap out one of those crystals and retweak it for 12 meters, but that'd be a shot in the dark, but maybe worth the trouble. But other than that, yeah, I've got a Drake R7 receiver that will cover it, but that's receive only. I don't have the matching transmitter. But the receiver is almost like general coverage. It will cover the work bands. Let's see. Other than that, I guess that's about all I got to say on the subject. So I'll give it over to my buddy there, Bob, WA9JIB, WB6RLC in the group.
Did you want to pick up that station that I think Maya's trying to break in?
Is there a station trying to break in there? I think you're really off frequency. Go ahead.
Okay, 6LGL, I don't know, it may have been me or not. Skip, running a little late. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I've got you on the list. Skip, go ahead, Bob.
Okay, Glenn, WB6RLC. This is WA9JIB. And I see on the other side of me, after I turn it back to mission control here, will be Andy, who I frequently am next to also. So I'm right in the pocket tonight. WA9JIB is here in La Cañada, California. The name is Bob, Bravo, Oscar, Bravo. I guess we got a few new folks on there. Greetings to you. I am running a helicopter station, although I start with a Kenwood MC50 microphone, into my helicopter's HT32B for Bob, paired with its twin, the SX115. Barefoot, I do go through an MFJ tuner, which I got from K2RP, and goes up to my not quite resonant inverted V dipole hanging off a 35-foot mast. So, and that's the story on the station here. As far as the question goes, I have worked the work bands 12 and 17 last Sunspot cycle. I haven't done them this Sunspot cycle. I do not have any vintage radios which will cover those bands. Well, with a possible exception or two.
You need to go down to 1.
Of course, any general coverage receiver, as was pointed out, can do it. And although I don't have a Drake 2B, I have a Drake 2A. I suppose that could do it if I had the right crystals to put in it. And yeah, the manual gives a rather complicated mathematical process for what you need to get on what set of frequencies, but it can do it. But it'd just be a lot easier to do with a general coverage receiver, I think. So when I get on the work bands again this cycle, when that will be, I will use a non-vintage radio, although it's getting vintagey, called a Yaesu FT757 that I got from W60Q last spring. Prior to that, I was using an ICOM IC735, a borrowed radio, to get on the work bands. So I do not have a resonant antenna for 12 or 17, but I just kind of tuned my way onto them. Did work some stations, work some DX, and I might actually go ahead and try to throw up a little band dipole for those two bands, 17 and 12. Based on what I think Glenn mentioned, my FT101E has 11 meters, and maybe with a little tweaking, that could be brought to 12 meters. So that's a thought. I think that occurred to me years ago, and then I forgot about it, and Glenn reminded me of it. So if anybody's done that, I'd be interested in what it took to make it happen. A lot of FT101Es floating around, and so maybe there's a chance somebody's done that. Okay, back to you, Brian. NI6Q, WA9JIB.
Yeah, okay, Bob, goes to TKX.
NI6Q and the Vintage Roundtable. This is KD6TKX. Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Bob. Always good to be next to you in a lineup. Lets us know that at least part of the universe is in alignment. So this is Andy, located at Curry Mountain in the wilds of southwest Fresno County in the southern tip of the Diablo Mountain Range. And tonight I'm running my KWS-1 transmitter with the 75A4 receiver. And the antenna is a resonant band dipole that my buddy Jeff designed. So about 35 feet at the top of it. And I hate to jump on the bandwagon, but I don't even know what a work band is, I don't think. But so therefore, I'm not sure. I think I have a number of radios that would probably cover them, but Anything that sounds like work, I probably want to stay away from it, being retired, etc. But sorry, Brian, I have no pearls on this one. But thanks very much to you for taking the net, and thank you to Dave for picking up the earlies. Appreciate it. NI6Q and the Vintage Roundtable, KD6 TKX.
Yeah, okay, Andy, very good. This is NI6Q Flex stuff coming back. Okay, good copy on everyone there. And thanks for the input or no input, you know. I think that Chuck and 6AF resumed the situation pretty well when it said it won't work. So you're the best contendant, you know, for the Golden Cup right now. And TKX, well, yeah, but you know, we're using a number of radios, of course, not amateur radios. I would say more professional radios, like Fisher and Harris radios, and we're on the walk bands all the time, like 30 meters, 60 meters, which is really interesting, and things like that. I think that also, you know, I have to take a look and see, but a lot of the radios of the era were actually covering, you know, 10 megahertz for WWV. I wonder if it's possible, you know, if they also work up, you know, to the 30-meter band, and therefore would be able to be active on 30 meters, or 60 meters, I mean, without much to do, 10.1 there. CW, but I think they probably do work on transmit as well. There is no restriction, I think, on the transmitter on that frequency. Anyway, that's a question. All right. Well, let's go further down the list, but before we do have anybody else who'd like to be on the list besides K6LGL, and I anyone else for the Vintage Sideman Roundtable? This is NI6Q. Yeah. Nope, nobody heard, so let's go down the list here. We have Tim, KX7P, Kilo X37P. It's going to be your turn. Would you pass it over to W6WUH, Larry? And WUH pass it over to Bill, K6LK. K6LK would pass it over to W6YC, George. And George, pass it over to KG6UTS. It's good to have you on board. Haven't heard you on 40 meters for a while there. KG6UTS. And add pass it back to me. All right. Okay. Damon, it's your turn. Vintage Sideman Roundtable. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. This is Tim. Tango India Mike, and the call is Kilo X-Ray 7 Papa. I'm located in western Arizona in the city of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Good to be able to check in with you guys tonight, listen to the good old rigs that you all are using tonight. You know, it's been many years since I've checked in with you guys. I was around when you guys were just getting started. I want to say that was about 2012, 2013. You know, right around that time, I think. Anyways, I just haven't been able to check in a whole lot with you guys, but time afforded me the opportunity today to check in with you guys. But running an old Rockwell Collins KWM 380. I got two of them. I got pictures of them on the QRZ page if anyone can find and take a look at how I got set up. But just running an old KWM 380 to a Alpha Delta fan dipole. About the apex is about 45 feet. That's all running just 100 watts. Nothing fancy here at all with that. But the KWM 380 was one of those rigs. I was 15 years old about when Rockwell Collins put out this radio, and it was just a dream of mine. I mean, it wasn't even a dream. It was, you know, I couldn't even dream of having one of these things, you know, because they were like $3 or $4 or $5 grand back then to a 15-year-old kid making $5 a day mowing the lawn. You know, of course I could never own one of these, but later in life, many years later, having a good career, I was able to get a couple of these things. So I'm just revisiting my childhood here and having a good time with the KWM. But this one has the work bands on it. I probably the only one that uses 17 meters and have a lot of fun on 17. I've probably used 12 meters, but yeah, 17 meters, and the antenna's not a problem. I got a separate EB18E, and that tunes just about anything from about 7 megs all the way to 6 meters, so I can tune to 17 no problem with it. It does a good job, so yeah, I've been on 17 meters, and that's about all I can say about the work band. It's good to get on there, especially if there's a contest weekend, and 20 meters and 15 meters, you know, all the regular bands are all tied up. It's nice to go to the work bands where you don't have all that going on, and you can have some good rad tunes. So, again, good hearing you guys. I love hearing the old radios on the air, listening to them sounding, and everyone sounding great here in Arizona. So, first two, I didn't get the name. It was Larry or Harry. I'm not sure. I apologize. Over to you. W6WUH from Kilo X-Ray 7 Papa in Lake Havasu. Over to you.
Okay, Mike. Yeah, name's Larry, W6WUH. Well, golly, I don't work with the work bands, but I got to thinking about this a little bit, and it just seems like a lot of it just depends on you know, the architecture of your transmitter. The rigs that use VFOs. And it worked for 80 through 10 meters. All those bands are harmonically related, so the VFOs are really operating on 3.5 or 7 megacycles, or one of the harmonics of those. And I think the work bands are generally not harmonically related. So the cure for that is to use an outboard VFO that you retune, so that you can get some drive on the frequency that you need. The tube-type transmitters really are going to tune almost anywhere, and if they have a tunable driver, all you got to do is get the suitable VFO frequency, and I think you can get the things on without too much trouble. Of course, all the heterodyne oscillator rigs, if they're tube type, the same thing applies. You just change the heterodyne oscillator crystal, tune it up, and Bob's your uncle. If they're tube type, but if they're solid state, you got another problem, and that's all the solid state ones have Chebyshev filters. There's some kind of bandpass filters in the output because the solid state amplifiers aren't clean, and so that's going to be the real sticking point for them. Even if they've got a VFO, the only way unless you can tune them, or there's enough fudge factor in them, you may be able to get away with it, again using the outboard VFO trick to you know, if you need 8 megacycle drive and all you got is 7, then you got to use a different VFO and retune it. But you know, some rigs are just like you said, they're not going to get there because of just the way they're designed. But I think there's a lot of room in the older, especially the tube type stuff, where you've got tunable pre-selectors and tunable drivers and tunable tank circuits. You just need to get the drive on the right frequency, and you can get there. Looking at my notes, it goes to Bill, K6LK, W6WUH.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. W6WUH. K6LK returning. Yeah, tonight I'm on the Swan 175. Have to ride the volume control a little bit because it's really an RF control. And Larry, when you came on, you were just really blasting away there. So not your signal, but just the way this radio is. Anyway, so I got it turn down there a little bit for you, Larry. Anyway, the antenna here is kind of a mishmash thing I threw together, and hopefully it's working out for most of you. It's kind of an inverted L thing, and I'm feeding it with a 2-to-1 balance right now. So that's set up. I'm going to keep it short here, and I wanted to shout out there to N6AF. He said he worked some 10-meter people, and that's great. I'm glad he did it. I hope he was using the 210X, because he has one heck of a signal from that radio over here in Kelseyville. So that would be nice to have done some vintage DXing. Anyway, I sure wished I could afford that Collins stuff. It's really nice. I think the KWM2A, there's a crystal in the pack that I believe will go on the work bands, one of the work bands. I don't know if it's one of the guard crystals for the VFO. I think that's 5 megs, but as I recall, there's something going on with that crystal pack. Anyway, let's see, it goes over to you there, George, W6YEC, K6LK.
Yeah, go ahead, contact. This is Kilowatt 6 Tango in Arizona. Name is Rod. Yeah, and would you like to be on the list? I sure would. Okay, so you're on the list. I think it is K6 Tango X-Ray Echo. Could you confirm that?
QSL, Kilowatt 6, Tango X-Ray Echo.
All right, got you on the list. So I think it goes to K6LK. I think folks, so it goes to George YEC. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly there, Brian. Am I to give it to Dave or to give it to Ed? Dave was asking to be in there, I think.
Yeah, I think why don't you give it to Dave, WJ6W, and then Dave, if you're back on here, give it over to KJ6UTS. Okay, and then it would come back to me for more possible check-ins there and resume operations there. Okay. So go ahead, George. Over.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I thought that's what you'd said. I made a note of it, so that I just thought I'd throw that out there. Good. Very good. Well, good evening to everybody. Nice signals. Lots of fun here tonight on the vintage net. Sounding great. And UTS, Ed, wonderful to hear you on. Very weak from out there in the desert over here to San Diego. But looking forward to seeing you here maybe this week or when you get back sometime. And but sure good to have you on here. All righty. And Tim, I don't think I've heard you before. And KX7P, nice to hear you on there. Looking at your QRZ page and passing your call on to one of our guys. Doesn't get on here too often, but interested in their vintage stuff. He's over there. He has a house over there in Lake Havasu. Is over there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then back here to San Diego. KI6CSA. So I was going to let him know that you're there at Lake Havasu. All right, very good. Well, I'm running the TS520 Sugar tonight with a 30L1 amplifier and the resonant antenna, the coaxial flat top of 40 feet with the MC50 microphone here. So that's the vintage rundown. To the question, well, I've got the Drake C line. It's got the crystals in it for the warp bands and all of that and more, shortwave and what have you, but for working the warp bands. And then and it's like the Collins, same thing with the crystalline. So I can't remember if I've used it on the warp bands or not, to be honest with you, but I know I've got the chart and I've got the crystals in there and all. And then, you know, I got thinking about it when you mentioned 30 meters. I hadn't thought about it previously. With the TS530, of course, it has WWB on it, the band there, and I'll have to check on the frequency and the direction and what have you, but who knows, maybe if I was serious about doing it, that I could modify it for CW work on the warp bands. I'm sure there's a diode or something in the solid state circuitry of the high branch that might allow me to do that. But just have never thought about it, and nice look into it just for the joy of knowledge, if nothing else. So that's what we've got going here. In relation to the questions this evening. By the way, the sea line is available. If somebody would like a beautiful, beautiful sea line with all the crystals in it, like I mentioned, and the Sherwood upgrades for filtering and the power supply upgrades and all that. And we're going to move it on. And be happy for a while with our TR4, but try to make more room here in the shack. So if anybody's interested in that, you can just drop me an email or give me a call here at 619-277-6043 and see what we can do. Get all the manuals and everything. All right. With that, let's bring in Dave, WJ6W, W6YEC.
W6YEC, WJ6W. Okay, thank you, George. And fine signal from you down there in San Diego. We're running a Drake TR7 tonight and 30L1 amplifier. Let's see, as far as the question, I'm afraid we don't have much to contribute. We've never run on the warp bands, and so haven't really thought about using any vintage gear on them. So I guess that'll be it. Short and sweet from me tonight, but it's interesting to listen to others' experiences. So we'll send it on over to Ed. Hello to you. It's been a long time. KG6UTS, WJ6W.
Stay up in that microphone when you're talking. Don't move your head around. Stay right in the head of the microphone.
Just a little box on the table.
You get that frog out of your throat, you'll be right.
So we'll see what happens. I just emailed him. 6 Form Tango Sierra. I guess I'll give it back to Brian. I just want to say hello and goodbye.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sounds just fine to me. That's the other guys, too.
And I think...
Okay. Okay, at KG6 UTS. This is an I6U Flagstaff coming back. Okay, very light copy on you, Ed, but it's really good to have you on board here. Haven't heard you in ages now, and but I haven't been very active either on 40 meters like we used to meet there. So good to hear you. And okay, YEC, very nice, very strong signal, and Bill was a good 5 and 9 plus as well, and Larry too. So no complaints here. So let's go down the list here. We still have a few names here on the list, and then I'll open up for late check-ins. This is the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. This is an I6Q hosting tonight. We're going to go to John, KJ7, India Golf Zulu, IGZ. John, it's your turn. Would you pass it over to WI6R?
WI6R would pass it in turn to W6BRY, Bravo Radio Yankee, and BRY passes over to K6JEY, K6JEY, and then pass it back to me. I'll pass it, to 2 or 3 other stations there, and we'll be at the bottom of the list here. So over to you, John. This is the Vintage Sideman Roundtable, NI6Q. Flagstaff.
No, I wouldn't, Chris, but I appreciate your anyway. And, yeah, if you're doing anything with any type of limestone, definitely want to know. Get the thing. And the reason how the base will hurt your words when the acid will low.
Yeah. Is John on? I'm not hearing. Okay, so it would go to WI6R.
Yesterday.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. NI6Q in the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is Dave, WI6R in Kingman, Arizona. Good evening to everybody. Big signals from everyone, and actually I mean everyone. The guys on the East Coast are 20 over 9 here as well, so hopefully they're not hearing us bothering them. But George, YEC, you won the high S-meter reading tonight. You're 30 over 9 here, doing a fantastic job. And I wanted to say hi to Tim KX7P. We haven't talked to you before, and then Ed. Again, yeah, we haven't heard Ed for quite some time either, and I haven't been on 40 meters until just recently. We got back on 40, so that's good. Running our Collins S line tonight. As far as the question of the evening, well, we have both a KWM2A that covers all the warrant bands. We also have a KWM1 that covers 17 and 12 meters in addition to the normal ham bands. And of course, that was just with the addition of crystals. One of the things about the Collins gear, of course, is that they guarantee it to operate on all those frequencies from basically 1.5 to 30 megahertz, with an exception right in the 5 megahertz range. There's some small segments that they exclude due to possible spurious signals, but otherwise they work quite well on those, and that includes the 30L1 and 30S1. They'll all work on all those frequencies very nicely. And as far as all the typical heterodyne type transceivers like the Collins that have pre-selectors and so on, and Pi network outputs, most all of those could be made to work. Of course, we have both Drake 4B and 4C lines. I've got a 4B receiver right now which has all the crystals for the warrant bands in it, and that will work with the TX4B and of course the 4C. The TR5, which was released right about the time the TR7A came out, I think the early ones were shipped without crystals, but they had the bandpass filters in the receiver front end, and they had the selections of the correct low-pass filters on the transmitter output, and then you could order the crystals. Once the warrant bands were available, you could get the crystals from Drake. And of course the TR7s, all those can be programmed to cover most any frequency in those ranges as well. And there's just lots of information on the internet about doing that. As far as the warrant bands, they're great bands. They were probably most popular to be used by people running QRP, or at least low power, with minimal antennas. The antennas, of course, for 17 and 12 meters are a bit smaller, so they're easier to construct, and they're great bands. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to work Bouvet Island that was just left from their D-Expedition, you had better be able to work them on 30 meters or on 17 meters if you really wanted to. Those were the bands to do it. So those bands are quite enjoyable, and I encourage people, if they haven't gotten on, to get on. There's lots of interesting activity there, and probably stations you may have never talked to before. So that's kind of my input, and with that, I'm going to pass it over to, let's see, this goes over to Brian, W6BRY from Whiskey
Italy 6 Radio.
Yeah, WI6R in the group from W6BRY here in Valley Springs, California, and everybody's sounding great here. I'm running my Heathkit SB101 and the SB220 amplifier. I think I'm probably doing about 800 watts or so. And I apologize for last week. I tried to get in here, but I couldn't. I just had a heck of a time with the antenna that I had, so I got out there and did a project and built a resonant dipole here that's resonant right here. So I can get up here without a tuner now. And as far as the work bands, I don't really have any or very limited experience on the work bands. I do have a TS830 and also a KWM2A that I put the crystals in the KWM2A, and the 830 has it from the factory. But I just recently got a Stepper DB18, and I've been playing around on the work bands, and I'm like, wow, I've really been missing a lot. So I will definitely be using those two radios, the vintage ones, on that antenna now that I have that available. So that's all I can say. I'll keep it moving here over to Doug. I think it's K6JEY from W6BRY.
Yeah, W6BRY, K6JEY, nice to hear you. And the SB101 is sounding really good. This is Doug, K6JEY in Long Beach, and haven't been on here in a while. That's how we check in. Using a Drake TR7 with an AUX7 board in it, so it can do work bands. I do use work bands 30, 17, and 12, but mostly for CWDX and not for some of them. And next week I'll be back, I hope, because I should have a brand new to me FT101B, which will sit underneath an FTDX10. So we'll do a little comparison and see what is it, 50 years does for technology. And Brian, nice to hear you again. And that's all we have. And I think
Yeah, okay, very good. Okay, Doug, good signal from the TR7 there. And yes, indeed, it did have the auxiliary board that you needed, to put it on the wall there. Yep. Okay, on the 101E as well, and VRY, the SB101 sounded really good. And thanks, Dave, for your contribution there. Very valuable on the KWM1, of course. That would be the upper, I would say, well, bands there. But the 30L1 and 30S1 active on those bands. I can even tell China, North Korea, and Russia. This particular single one has the walk bands, and it is right now paired with the 30S1. It's good to know that I can do that. The antenna does the walk band because it's one of those doublet antennas, with a proper tuner, and that works on any frequency. So there we go. All right. So 2 more stations, and then I'll open up, for possible late check-ins. We have 3 stations. As a matter of fact, we have John, the WA6JUS. It's going to be your turn. You've got K6LGL, skipper. And skip that to go to K6 Tango, X-Ray, Echo, TXE, and then back to me for possible late check-in. This is the Vintage Sideman Roundtable, and I6Q here in Flagstaff, Arizona. Go ahead, John. WA6GUS, okay.
I don't hear him, Brian.
I don't either. Go ahead, Skipper.
Okay, thank you. I6Q and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable Group. Good evening from LGL in Santa Monica. I'm on my Yasa 902JM, Vintage 1980. That was the final version of the ST101 series. The previous later versions had all the work bands available, including the and the 902 includes all the work bands plus FM and of course set up for SSB too. And it has a built-in DC power supply, so you can run it directly from 12 volts from the battery. So it's the most probably versatile transceiver. There's still a hybrid, you know, with the 12BY7 driving the 6146Bs. So as far as workband favorites, the 17 meters. 17 had the advantages, especially as we were, you know, the low 24 and the new cycle now that's beginning to open up, you know, the sunspot cycle hovering there close to 200 makes 10 meters, all the frequencies below 10 active, which is encouraging. But my favorite is 17 meters, and it provides that. And there are a few others. There are a few others also available. Obviously, the Drake C-line, the B-line, and so on has both the receive capability, the filtering, and the transmitter. The one thing that I complain about the pre-workband transmitters, they use the ceramic output capacitors, just ceramics. And they can't handle the RF power, some of them. And what you've got to do is to rip them out and put in something like a doorknob that can handle, has a large surface, full surface, and stability. So that's the change I did also in the 902. I did it in my Swan and a few others. That is the one thing that keeps the final amplifiers happy once they're neutralized. But using just a ceramic capacitor with a 3 kV rating is not going to do it. Eventually, they break down. There's not enough surface to handle the RF power, in my opinion. Okay, so that's the story on that. I'll pass it back to you there, Brian. Take care. Interesting topic.
I'm not hearing anybody person over, man.
By the late 70s, 79, 80, that had the provisions. But the use did not really get going, you know, till probably almost a decade later. Right now, 17 meters, you know, anytime 20 was open, 17 was close enough, where the MUF is hovering below 20 megahertz. And that's what made that band very great, and it's fairly easy to build a resonant antenna. There, Brian, another frequency. Let me set this back up. There we go. NI6Q, 73 to everybody, and interesting comments. K6LG.
Yeah, go through K6, Tango X-ray Echo, go ahead. K6 Tango X-ray Echo.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I haven't yet got on your my name is Rod, and I'm in Sun City, West Arizona. I have a 706 that's driving a Viking Valiant, and I'm listening on HQ 145 into a vertical, so it's about 300 watts into a vertical, and you guys are all coming in real strong over here. I don't have much to say, except that thanks for letting me come in, and I'll keep listening, and I'll turn it back to NI6Q. This is K6TXE.
Yes, okay, Rod, very good. K6TXE, this is NI6Q Flex stuff. Okay, very good. Well, thanks for coming, Rod. You have a good signal here with the 706 and the Viking. A piece there, very nice, and come back and see us next time. WA6JUS, are you back? No JUS, okay, very good. So do we have anyone else who'd like to chime in as a late check-in for the Vintage Sideman Roundtable coming up?
NY6L, Jay here in Hesperia.
Yeah, NY6L, why don't you make one? Go ahead.
All right, very good. Sorry for being the caboose at the end of the net, but I had to be a grandpa here to help out and take care of things. So I'm running the Collins S line here, and I guess the question is work bands. Well, I have recently got these Collins S line going, and don't have crystals yet to possibly put them on the work bands. I mean, they'll probably work on it, no problem. And the only other, well, I guess you could call it vintage, but I'm not sure, is my Kenwood TS-830S hybrid transceiver. Has the work bands already in it already, so that's pretty much it. And as far as antenna, I have a vertical that covers the work bands. The Cushcraft the R7000 covers all the work bands. So I have used the work bands. It's a very interesting bands to work other hams on. At times it's not as crowded, but very interesting propagation on those bands. All right, Brian, back there to you, our net control, and thank you for running the net out there at Flagstaff. NY6L, Jay here in Hesperia.
Okay, very good, Jay. Excellent signal from Hesperia there. And thanks for being on. The S-line sounds very good, by the way, which is not always easy with the S-line, depending on the filter, vintage and things like that. So
Don't believe
this is definitely a good sounding one. All right, excellent. Anyone else would like to chime in as a last comer in I6Q here?
The guys on 5191.
Nobody there, so okay, so we're going to close up the net here. I'd like to give a couple of awards here, 2 or 3 of them. I think basically the contributions here were kind of interesting when it went to Larry, who reminded us that, when it comes to the walk bands, they're outside of the norm of the harmonically related bands that we have, that were, historically set for those reasons. And his idea of using another VSO, for the injection to be able to cover those bands without, much modification, I think was an interesting one. So he's going to get the Golden Cup for tonight. Larry, I'm going to give also a cup, the silver one, to Dave WI6R, who reminded us of the KW1, and also the fact that the 30S1 to the L1 work on the wall band, which is kind of interesting. And I didn't realize that myself, but I didn't try. I didn't know the 4B was also kind of equipped, to drink.
Well, I've had about 6 of them, like
So thanks, Dave, for that. And of course, we're going to give a special spoon tonight to KN6AF, who just made the conclusion there that the wall bands, well, it won't work on the vintage radios before 1970. So you get, kind of a silver spoon for that declaration, Chuck. So there we go. Larry, do you have anything to add over?
No, I don't, Brian, but thanks for taking the net. We get 6WUH.
All right, very good. What about you, Dave?
Dave WI6R, gun?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Well, I thought it was overlooked because I think probably there's many more linear amplifiers with Pi network outputs and don't have necessarily tuned inputs that do actually work there. But it is interesting that there are ones that work and work pretty well there without too much trouble. So thanks very much, Brian, and just tremendous signal over here tonight.
Yeah, same to you, Dave. Good to hear you on there. So, Chuck, are you still around for your golden spoon there?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I have to say, I'm just beaming. I'm radiating with happiness to receive that. But seriously, to me, these awards kind of go to everybody. because to me, without the camaraderie, none of us would show up. So it's a collective radio conscience and effort that keeps me coming back. But thanks for recognizing my my silly word puns. I don't want to punish anybody with those. So 7-3 all. Thanks for running the show there, sir. It was a lot of fun. N6AF.
Yes, okay, Chuck. Very good. Well, I think that probably that's what most people will remember from the question. So anyway, there we go. Well, folks, thanks for being here tonight. With that, we're going to be closing with that kind of humoristic note there.
This particular session of the Vintage Sideman Roundtable. Thanks for everybody for being here, and we'll be here next Tuesday. Deo Volante. So all the best. 73s. This is an I6Q closing the roundtable. 73s to all.